Iyase Ekpenede pushed, or should I say now, murdered the only daughter of Oba Ehengbuda. In no time, of course, the house was very close to the palace, almost part of the palace. In no time, news had reached Oba Ehengbuda that his only daughter had been unalived by Iyase Ekpenede. He gathered his chiefs and they came to a decision. Iyase Ekpenede was ostracized. He was ostracized. Nobody was supposed to go close to him. Nobody was to go to his house. He couldn't buy anything. You know what ostracism means, all right? So, he did not even care because he started to bring out everything that he had. Iyase Ekpenede already made a decision, and the decision was for him to take his life. He was going to commit suicide. But if he committed suicide without an heir, everything that he owned would go to the palace. So he swore that he would never allow the palace to inherit any pin from him.
Thanks for clicking on this channel. Please subscribe to FO's blog history and click on the notification button so that whenever we upload a new video you will be notified. Part 2. Iyase of Benin murdered the only daughter of Oba Ehengbuda. In Part 1, Ozomo Kakadu narrated the role of Iyase of Benin during Oba Ehengbuda's reign. Iyase of Benin was the man who demarcated the boundary between the Benin Empire and the Oyo Empire at Ota town in present-day Ekiti State. Ekpenede was the Iyase of Benin 400 years ago. To watch Part 1 of this video, please follow the link in the description below. This is Part 2 of the story of Iyase of Benin after the murder of the only daughter of Oba Ehengbuda. All the items needed for the Elhi worship were procured, but regarding the main sacrificial offering, Ekpenede kept some secrets to himself regarding the Elhi worship. The ceremony began late in the afternoon. The Iyase sent to his wife Princess Ogian to attend to him at the peace offering. The princess dressed up carefully in her fine attire, with her hair, bosom, and limbs heavily encrusted with coral beads. Ingalaye brass ornaments danced golden dances in her hair, amongst the redness of the coral. Her figure was draped in a damask of the most exquisite color. She arrived with her attendants at the Elhi shrine and sat down. In Ekpenede's appeal to his Elhi, he presented Ogian, daughter of Oba Ehengbuda, princess of the realm and wife of the Iyase of Benin, as the day's regretful offering. He then ordered her to be thrown into the covered-over pit, dug in front of the altar. Strong arms seized the princess, and amidst the wailings of her attendants, she was thrown violently into the hole. The back of her head hit the edge of the pit as she went in, and she injured her brain and became unconscious before she hit the bottom. The pit was filled with sand while, even though unconscious, she was still breathing but later died. The horror story was brought to Oba Ehengbuda in the palace only a short distance away. He summoned the principal chiefs of the realm to the palace and a decision was reached, that the Benins were forbidden to have any relationship whatsoever with the Iyase and his household. They were neither to buy from him nor to sell to him. A message was sent to Iyase, formally barring him from the royal palace. Iyase of Benin began preparing for his own death. He turned his attention first to what remained of his great wealth. Please sit down and listen to Ozomo Kakadu as he narrates what happened after the murder of the only daughter of Oba Ehengbuda.
Iyase Ekpenede pushed, or should I say now, murdered the only daughter of Oba Ehengbuda. In no time, of course, the house was very close to the palace, almost part of the palace. In no time, news had reached Oba Ehengbuda that his only daughter had been unalived by Iyase Ekpenede. He gathered his chiefs and they came to a decision. Iyase Ekpenede was ostracized. He was ostracized. Nobody was supposed to go close to him. Nobody was to go to his house. He couldn't buy anything. You know what ostracism means, all right? So, he did not even care because he started to bring out everything that he had. Iyase Ekpenede already made a decision, and the decision was for him to take his life. He was going to commit suicide. But if he committed suicide without an heir, everything that he owned would go to the palace. So he swore that he would never allow the palace to inherit any pin from him. So what did he do? He brought out his animals, his livestock, began to slaughter them. He slaughtered all of them and kept some to be slaughtered every day while it still lasted. And when he slaughtered these animals, they would cook and eat with his household, because he had his attendants, he had servants, and a couple of family members with him, some nephews and nieces who were in his house. So they would cook every day, they would slaughter an animal every day and cook. Now, in the whole of the empire, there was only one man who disobeyed, who did not listen to the ostracism, that was placed on Iyase Ekpenede, and that was his childhood friend, his best friend, by the name of Ogboe. He's referred to as Ogboe Noza, all right? But he had a nickname. He was called Adowe. Adowe, if you have heard of Adowe or Adowe Nekoden. He was called so because he limped on one leg. He limped on one leg. One of his legs was really, really bad. So that is how he earned the nickname Adowe. So Adowe was the only human being who dared to go to Ekpenede's house to visit him. Every day he went there. And he also benefited from, all the meats that was served every day. After eating at Ekpenede's house, he would take some to his house. Groove kung fu the guy house like that, sha. So that was Adowe. So he came to Ekpenede's house every day. So Ekpenede started by slaughtering all his animals. When he was done with that, he brought out all his ivory. And according to Iyase Ehengbuda, he described the load, the quantity of Ekpenede's ivory as a shipload. Is it European? No. A Portuguese shipload. A Portuguese shipload of ivory at Uroton. That is how it was described. Trying to tell you how much or how many they were. He set them ablaze. He set everything ablaze. He brought out his clothes, all of them. International clothes, the ones that were locally made, the ones that were imported. He destroyed everything, set everything ablaze. Now, the cowries, they were too much. The cowries, the money was too much. Money yakba, it was too much. There was no way he could have destroyed the money. So what did he do? He looked for a place, dug different holes, very big and large and deep holes, and buried his money, that is the cowries. And he made all the people who were aware, his servants who were aware, he made them swear an oath that they would never on their life tell anybody the whereabouts of those things. Reason, he did not want the palace to inherit a pin from him. Now, at some point, he grew concerned about Adowe, because it was forbidden for Adowe to come to his house. So he began to worry that, so that they don't go and arrest Adowe and maybe face the same fate. So he called Adowe and said, look, I am not comfortable with you coming to my house. I don't want anything to happen to you. I don't want them to arrest you and maybe unalive you. Adowe laughed and told him, he said, look, I will never stop coming to your house. And he made a statement which actually gave birth to a proverb. Adowe ne called them, or where a piahana or we Ekpenede. Adowe ne called them we piahana or we Ekpenede. That means Adowe said it is only some sort of horrible, untimely death that would stop him from coming to the house of Ekpenede. After Ekpenede had done all of this, after he made sure that he destroyed everything, guess what? Even his own family members who were living in the house, he unalived all of them. All of them, living but one. Living only one, by the name of Osemivie. Osemivie was a nephew of his by one of his sisters, who was also late, That was the only person he left. And he told Osemivie, said, the only reason I'm not unaliving you is because I want you to carry the name of this family. Let someone at least be left. Let someone from this family be alive. So he left Osemivie. Every other thing in that household, Ekpenede. After doing that, he brought out his Emegan, the drum that was played to accompany him when he was on his ceremonial duty, when he was going to the palace to perform maybe some ceremonies to attend the Oba. He brought out that drum, slashed it. And from the lintel of his house, Ekpenede, in the middle of the night, went there, drew a rope, took off everything on his body. Now, the shorts or knickers that he was wearing, he removed it, placed it on the drum, and hanged himself. Ekpenede hanged himself. But before he did that, he had done some things, some rituals. And he said, he said he was going to make Edo naked. He was going to make Benin become naked. He did that in the dead of the night. And when it was morning, someone was coming along that Iwebo street. All of a sudden, he saw Ekpenede hanging from his lintel. Immediately, he saw Ekpenede. He looked around for a rope, looked for somewhere close that he could hang the rope from, and he too hanged himself. The next person who came around and saw Ekpenede did the same. Before you knew it, everyone who was unfortunate to go through that route that day did the same. Before you knew it, that area, that Ibiwe, Ekpenede's household was full of people hanging from somewhere, either a tree or from anywhere. All of them unalived, unaliving themselves, in the same way that Ekpenede had done his. News got to the palace, and the palace gathered its chiefs and priests. What do we do? How do we go about this? They started to check, consult oracle and everything. And they said the only solution to this problem, to this chaos, this nemesis, this calamity, is by his friend, his only friend, his best friend, that same person, Adowe or Ogboe. So Adowe was invited and told the situation. Initially, of course, he couldn't have said no, but he was reluctant. Then Oba promised him that if he could do that for him and for the kingdom, he would give him his quarter. That was a quarter to administer. So Adowe actually, obeyed, and they blindfolded him. And when they blindfolded him, he had to start finding his way, just palpating, touching things and using stick. According to Iyase Ehengbuda, it took till late in the afternoon for Adowe to finally palpate and discover Iyase Ekpenede. And when he was sure, because Iyase Ekpenede actually confided in him, so he knew that Iyase Ekpenede would be naked. So when he finally saw Iyase Ekpenede and he knew that was Iyase Ekpenede, he picked, also by palpating, he picked his knickers from the slashed drum, wore him the shorts, and removed his blindfold and cut him down. That was how the problem was solved. Ogboe Adowe Nekode put his friend on his leg, on his lap, and he was crying, looking at his friend with whom he grew, remembering all the exploits, all the things, all the sacrifices that he had done for the palace. Then he called out to everyone else that the problem had been resolved. That was how Iyase Ekpenede the Great ended.
Ekpenede yoku, Ekpenede yoku, Ekpenede yoku. Akesa mayo. Oba Ehengbuda o. Ritele o.